service of CNC Worldwide.
CNC Podcasts are a service of CNC News brought to you by the Greece Chamber of Commerce, providing more than 800 member companies with business solutions since 1984. It's been 30 years since the last big overhaul of Main Street in Rochester. Senator Chuck Schumer says it's time for a new one with a push from $1.6 million in federal money. The city put in wider sidewalks in the 1980s. Now that the buses are moving off Main and into the new downtown transit center, Schumer says there's an opportunity to revitalize the streetscape again, bring retail stores back, put parking spaces back on Main Street. The senator says he'll push to get a federal Department of Transportation grant for a Main Street redevelopment project and also for a streetscape project for the Village of Webster. The state Senate has passed a package of 23 bills meant to fight the sudden rise in heroin abuse. It came from a bipartisan Senate task force that followed statewide hearings on heroin and opiate addiction earlier this year. It includes prevention, addiction treatment, and tougher penalties for dealing in opiates. The package of bills have to pass the state assembly and be signed by Governor Cuomo to become law. Meanwhile, medical marijuana for New York may have stalled in the Senate. The chair of the Senate Finance Committee says he will not release the bill for a vote. 7 out of 9 Livingston County jail deputies charged with falsifying their time cards have accepted plea deals to a reduced charge. 8 of the former deputies were in Geneseo Village Court on charges of filing a false instrument. The 7 who accepted the plea bargain were charged with a violation instead of a misdemeanor and were granted conditional discharges. The 8th, Andrew Eichhorn, pleaded guilty to the original charge. The district attorney says he won't ask for jail time. And the 9th former deputy is now living out of state. He'll appear in court another time. A 29-year-old Rochester woman has pleaded guilty to manslaughter for the stabbing death of a Rochester man. Amber Favazuli was accused of stabbing 60-year-old Leonard Johnson to death in his apartment on St. Paul Street in Rochester last summer. 2 young children were in the apartment at the time. Favazuli will be sentenced July 8th in state Supreme Court. She's being held in the Monroe County Jail till then. The man once known as the Northeast Rapist has pleaded guilty to a second-degree murder charge in the death of a Rochester woman more than 30 years ago. Nat Lee Jones has been in prison nearly that long. He was found guilty on 12 counts of rape and related crimes in 1987. Modern DNA evidence and a persistent investigator named Joseph Dominic linked Jones to the May 1980 murder of Mary Hull. The 74-year-old woman was raped and strangled in her home on Laura Street. Once DNA testing was readily available, Dominic located the old evidence kit and had it tested by the crime lab. The DNA profile pointed to Jones. He'll be sentenced on the additional charges July 11th. And a Monroe County court jury has convicted 29-year-old Michael Albert of Rochester on second-degree murder. Albert was found guilty of murdering 20-year-old Jeremy Trim 8 years ago on Lexington Avenue. Assistant DA Patrick Farrell says evidence presented at the trial included recordings of incriminating statements Albert made to a police informant. He'll be sentenced on July 11th. Rochester police released this video hoping to identify the 2 people that turned up on the surveillance cameras stealing a bicycle. This happened the night of May 27th at 444 East Main Street. The 2 suspects used bolt cutters to try to cut the bike lock. When the first one can't do it, the second suspect takes them and then cuts the lock. If you recognize these people or if you have any information, police ask you call 911 or 311 in the city. And a number of teenagers arrested for breaking into the Medley Center Mall Sunday night were arraigned Monday in Irondequoit Town Court. They were released on their own recognizance, as most are first-time offenders. Court papers say the teens, plus 1 juvenile, who is being handled in family court, broke through a fire door and set off the fire extinguishers inside the empty mall. They caused $2,800 in damage. Medley Center owner Scott Conjal said in a statement there have been other break-ins, and he hopes increased police surveillance will help. Your next CNC podcast is whenever you click on one of these pages and catch one. We post updates as necessary. I'm Bud Lowell, CNC News.